It's been about a week almost since we've done a live, so thank you for hopping back on. 3 quick announcements. Number 1, speaktruthwithoutfear.com. Put in your email. It's the one way we can stay in touch with you in case you get deplatformed. And the second thing, we had a podcast come out today. Today's podcast had Clay Clark on it. He is the entrepreneur that also started the Reopen America tour with everybody from Flynn to Mike Lindell to Ian Smith, and they're doing a huge tour. We talk about how the event got started, what their goal is. He gets into the COVID test and the science behind it all, and he breaks down a bunch of stuff that was way over my head, and then which he dumbed it down for us, and it was a great podcast. Third and final announcement, which is my favorite, the Cusick family. We raised over $100,000 as of today for the Cusick family. We accomplished the goal. This is the one thing I'm like, okay, Instagram, big tech, you did your job, because we all shared it. We had a ton of people that shared the fundraiser. A bunch of news organizations reached out for an interview after they saw a lot of us posting it. We had hundreds and hundreds of shares. And so thank you to you guys, because we raised literally, I think we're at $101,000 as of today. We crossed the goal. Their lawyer and legal fees are going to be taken care of. Their traveling costs is going to be taken care of. And it's awesome to see everyone come together for this family. That's my announcements. Okay, there she is.
Hello.
How
I have
are you?
my leftist tears.
That Daily Wire?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone just gave me that, which is, I have my blank tears right now.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was late because I was playing Call of Duty with John.
You know what? I like the honesty, because I would be playing FIFA, but Call of Duty is cool too.
No, man, I'm getting so good at Call of Duty. Come and try and knock on my door about some damn vaccines.
Oh, that's the perfect segue, because we're going to get into it. I mean, Alex, you've been on here a ton. Oh, you've all been on here. You guys should all know who Bobby, Alex, and Jorge are. If you don't, there's a little arrow right here. Click on it. Follow them. If you want to know more about the border, Jorge, and Alex is your guy and gal, because they both go to the border. Jorge was just on my podcast last week, which we talked about the border, which was, I think, the second most listened podcast that we've had so far. The feedback was incredible. Alex, best rants on the gram, hands down. And if you haven't seen her 3-minute or 5-minute one on...
Oh, the second one today. There's a
second did you?
one. It's not on their YouTube yet. I don't know if they're banned from posting or anything. I know they're banned from going live for a week, but it's on their Facebook. Right Side Broadcasting Network posted my second video about the Democrats blaming us for defunding the police, but it's also on Right Side Broadcasting Network's app. Check that out there. But once I get it on YouTube, or if I have to link it, the Facebook link, I'll do that on my Instagram story, but it's a good one. So
perfect. Awesome. And then we got Bobby, who is my favorite comedian. He is, he always got these filters on his videos. I absolutely love it. So let's get into it. All right. Well, let's talk about this. This is what broke yesterday. The freaking Jen Psaki, circle back gal. And we had Joe Biden both give 2 separate press conferences talking about how they will go door to door, send the Gestapo to your house and make sure that you are vaccinated. And what's very interesting is I was just on Twitter a little bit ago and looking at all these other international news organizations. They're all saying it. New Zealand's reporters are saying it. Australia's reporters are saying it. Like, this is a complete, like, everyone is following its orders. And then you see America. Now you have Circle Back and Biden coming out saying, we are going to send people to your house to make sure that you took the jab. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I like to see them try. I dare you to come knock on my door. Dare you. You don't believe in God, you might want to start, because you might be seeing him if you do. Okay, that's a little aggressive, but no, it's just kind of crazy. I actually saw on Twitter someone called them Jacobin witnesses.
Oh, no, they did.
Yes, they did. And I'm like, who comes up with this stuff? I wish I came up with that. That's hilarious. No, but it's so crazy to me because didn't the Trump administration get flack for wanting to ask people who is a U.S. citizen, you know, while doing the census and stuff? And now all of a sudden, the Biden administration is completely okay with going door to door, asking people who got the vaccine, trying to coerce people into getting the vaccine. No one's, I mean, we're questioning it. Conservatives, you know, people on the right and even like moderate people are questioning why they're trying to push this vaccine so damn hard.
Right.
But it's actually insane to me that they're getting ready to go door to door to ask people and coerce people into getting a shot. Like, if it's my body, my choice, then it's my body. Then you know what? Then it's my body, my choice. I'm going to make a medical decision for myself if I want to have something injected into my body. I'm a healthy, almost 26-year-old girl. I don't need this vaccine. And if you want to get it, go for it. I don't care. I think the thing is that, like, I'm not making fun of or criticizing someone for getting this vaccine. I don't care. You want to get the vaccine, you go for it. Like, that is up to you. That is, if that is going to make you feel more comfortable, if that's going to make you feel safer, go for it. But stop trying to push people into getting this vaccine when we don't want to. It's our personal medical decision, and it should stick to being a personal decision and not having the government into it. If the left wants to preach my body, my choice all the damn time, then it should go the same for vaccines as well. Do not come knocking on my door. Do not do it.
I mean, if you think about it, a year and a half ago, if you would have told me, hey, so a year and a half from now, the business is going to be able to choose to when all your businesses close, when they're allowed to be open, when you're allowed to go to church, who's allowed to work and who's not, who has to put a bag over the face, who doesn't. And then they are going to come to your house door to door and make sure that you took a non-FDA approved, not that that means anything, non-FDA approved vaccine that they just rushed through. And they are going to put you on a list if you do not take the jab. Bobby, so they show up to your house. They're like, yo, you take the vaccine? Which I don't even know. Have you taken? I don't know everyone's opinions on the vaccine, so I'm going to be sensitive in case you have.
I'll give you one guess, and I think you'll be right. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so they show up to your door, and they're like, hi, Mr. Take Naps. We like your videos. But have you taken the jab? What's your response? What are you doing? What are you saying? How are you reacting to this?
I would just politely say I don't feel like answering your question. It's not against the law to not answer a question. I mean, the way that I kind of look at it is like the people that are going to be coming to your door are going to be part-time workers. They're going to be getting paid $10 an hour or $11 an hour, and they're going to be people that have absolutely no affiliation with the government and could care probably less about it, that are just trying to get some cash on the side. So they have no connection to Joe Biden, and it's just going to be your average everyday person. It's going to be the same type of person that comes to your house to collect the census. And I'm just going to be like, I don't feel like answering it, or I just won't answer the door. I have a Ring camera out front. I'll look, and I'll be like, no. Or if they ask me, I'll just close the door. Or I'll give them a Bobby Sausalito pin, or I'll say, follow me on Instagram, or I'll give them a bottle of water. To me, it's a nothing burger. It means nothing. The people are going to have no affiliation.
Yeah.
It's just a big waste of time and waste of money. And doesn't it just fit perfectly in line with all the other garbage that's happening? I mean, it makes perfect sense. It makes so much sense because nothing makes sense. This is exactly what they would do. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they pay you to answer the question. They're like, we'll give you $50 to answer the question, or here's $150 to go get it right now. I mean, crazier. Right. That wouldn't even surprise me at this point.
No, that's surprised if they asked if we have accepted Dr. Fauci as our Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
It is really so crazy.
Yeah, all I gotta say is if you pull up to my house, you're gonna have a crazy Salvadorian mom pull out with the chancla. You know what I'm saying? We don't got no guns in this house, bro, but we got them chanclas.
You got the chancletas.
I want that, bro.
Dude, I mean, it's crazy to think that we are here in America where they are sending people door to door to find out about a vaccine. I mean, guys, and the reason why I'm stressing on this point is like I'm trying to like. It's so easy to like every day so much is happening that like we like wake up and how did we get from here to here so fast? And it is not normal for a president to tell the entire country that we are going to send people to your house. This is not normal. Like, this is not normal. And we have to make sure that we realize what is going on, because if you really look at history's past, Someone did do this in the past in history. And you, if you know any history when it comes to communism, this is what they do. They put you on a list. It's pretty crazy, especially today. Horrible story came out by the New York Post that a 13-year-old boy passed away 3 days later after his second dose. This is a conspiracy before you start thinking, oh, this is not conspiracy. A 13-year-old kid died in his sleep 3 days after taking the second dose. This kid was completely healthy, had no pre-existing conditions. It's Jorge, what's your thoughts on this? You got
I mean, I just think, I think even if, like, I don't know, obviously everyone's position, but like, even if you're, let's say, even if you're pro-vax, like, let's say you're an adult who's pro-vax, I think it's like common sense to know that it's like, that we shouldn't be giving it to kids yet. Like, we don't know. And kids are like, not even like, they're like the most healthy when it comes to COVID. Like, they're like good to go. I always thought it was insane. And I mean, I'm pretty sure when you're too, it's like, when you're just like looking out, let's say you're driving, you look to a park, and like kids are playing outside with masks on. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, even if you do support the vaccine or whatever, and like, and you want to take it, that's fine. But it's like, when it comes to kids, I think we should definitely weigh. I think it's common sense. I don't think this is like even like it's not really a conspiracy theory. It's just like, kids right now, especially if you're like under 18, you're perfectly healthy to it, especially like under 10 years old. I was actually speaking to like some liberal moms here in California. They're like, oh, I can't wait to get like my 8-year-old vax. And I was like, yo, that's insane. I mean, for me, I grew up in a household, very old school, Latino, Hispanic, where like we didn't trust the government on anything. And if you guys know who Charlemagne the God is, he's a hip hop radio host. He's actually a liberal, and he's actually been against taking the vaccine. And one thing that he mentions, and I actually kind of agree with, is like, when it comes to any other issue, they never want to help us, right, Jordan? When it came to when everyone businesses shut down, the government didn't come to these restaurant owners and say, here's a $5,000 check, or here's this, we're going to try to save you. But when it comes to this, they're willing to help us. I mean, to me, that's just a weird thing. When it comes to all these other issues, they're never at our front door. They never care. They don't want to give it to us for free. Not even healthcare. We have Americans going bankrupt when they just visit the hospital, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. It's happened to everybody. But when it comes to this one thing, it's like right in your face. It's just odd, right? I mean, I just think we should all be questioning that. But kids, come on, that's insane.
Yeah. No, Bob, you got something?
Yeah, so I have a friend that has a 15-year-old, and she was furious that her mom wouldn't let her get it. And I was like, what?
Wow.
So it's like they've put the fear campaign on so deep that they're manipulating the kids into thinking that their parents are irresponsible. And like, that is just like one of many things where there's all this power now supposedly in the hands of these kids. It's like, you can choose your gender, you can choose whether or not you'll get the juice, you can choose whether or not this and that. And like, they're seeing this on TV, and they're seeing that they can kind of like burn their parents, and other kids are getting away with it, and they're getting very combative about it. And I remember listening to her say this, and I'm just like, I can see at 15 how you could be so easily manipulated, but isn't it sad that they'll fight with their own parents about something that's so sincere, that's so serious? It's troubling, but they've done a really good job at fear mongering pretty much every person. And kids are very perceptive and intelligent, and they have access to TV and the internet and public opinion. And the more that it gets spread in schools, it's like, you got to imagine that those teachers are being like, this is what you have to do. So it's like, they really got everybody by the balls. It's a sad state of affairs, to say the least.
I completely agree. And I've made a post earlier today. I saw like so many different people posting it, and I found a couple myself. And I don't know if you saw, but there are I had like 5 different people message me them today. Thousands and thousands and thousands of bots on Twitter posting literally the exact same message to the period, like with the tag and everything. You have you have somebody, some company or elites or whatever with some agenda that is paying a lot of money to have thousands and thousands and thousands of bots to instill fear about why you need to take it, or why you have to stay masked up, or the Delta strand. And they're just pumping this all over Twitter. And there's even verified accounts that are literally copying and pasting this. And the question that we all have to ask is, who is it and why? Yeah. And I mean, because to this point, why does someone need to manufacture this fear? And we all know why, because if you get people that are in fear, they're in control. Alex, did you see any of these bots and some of the messages?
Yeah, I've seen them, and I actually first saw them when you were posting them too. But it's crazy because this is something that I've been saying. I mean, this is something that we've all been saying since this even started. this whole pandemic started over a year ago, that this was never about the health and safety of the American people. It has been and always will be about control. They want to control us. They want to control every little aspect of us, where we travel, how we travel, when we can travel. Oh, we have to be vaccinated in order to do that. All these things that we have to do. We have now a vaccinated elite where people are enjoying certain privileges for getting this vaccine. And the thing is that I'm not anti-vaccine. I got vaccinated when I was a kid. You know, my parents vaccinated me, and I'm sure I will do the same when I have children. And the thing is that all of a sudden, if you say, oh, I don't feel comfortable getting the COVID vaccine, all of a sudden you're an anti-vaxxer. And that's really frustrating to me, because it's like you're sitting here and you're wishing me dead because I won't take a COVID vaccine to save other people. That makes zero sense to me. It makes no sense. It's not like, listen, like, I just don't feel comfortable taking a vaccine. Why is the media, why is the government, why is everybody hiding all of these bad side effects and these deaths and all of these different things, like the heart conditions and the blood clots and the children dying in their sleep? I mean, even if it's one death, it should be reported. Because especially considering that this isn't even an official FDA approved vaccine in the way other vaccines are approved, we need to know every good and bad thing about this vaccine. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian, or you just don't like politics at all, or you are the biggest politician. That does not matter. We should not be covering up all of these bad side effects and covering up all these things just to fit certain narratives. That does not matter. People are scared right now. People are scared to take this vaccine. And if you don't take this vaccine, you could lose your job. Your career could be ruined. Our military is even dealing with this stuff.
September 1st.
And I'm not going to get too much into that because I don't want to get him in trouble. But it's just like, this is absolutely insane what we're seeing right now. It's absolutely insane. All for this shot that they continuously are trying to push down our throats. And no one is explaining why. And no one knows why.
We are seeing medical segregation. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Hooray.
Well, the other big issue too is, like, you know, whether you're pro-vax, anti-vax, or just skeptical, or you just want to know more information, it's like we can't even have those conversations online because you'll get banned, you'll get censored. I'm not sure if you guys know who Brett Weinstein is. He's a big podcaster on YouTube, and he's actually a lefty. You know, he's like a Medicare for All type of lefty. And just because he's been having these serious discussions about the vaccine, they like demonetize his whole YouTube, and it's been happening to more people all over. So the huge issue that is right now is like we can't even have these conversations. Like even right now, we have to like kind of like dance around what we really want to say. And, like, it's a sucky thing, but it's just watching big tech, big pharma, and big government just all walk hand in hand. And it's like if you just dissent from that, you know, they're going to label you. So I think it's big when we are seeing big people in the media kind of break through that. I know Tucker has been able to break through the matrix just because he has his own show. Like I said, like people like Charlemagne the God, I think are playing a huge role because he's on the left and he's on mainstream media, and he can't really be like the platform because of where he's already at. But people like us and other independent media, I mean, they can be the platform easy. I mean, they even did it to the New York Post. And also, I mean, even if you just read these articles or a video, you got that worded. Hey, just let you know. So it's just like, bro, we can't even have this conversation.
It's so insane that you cannot talk about other cures that are obviously working. I went to this event, Open Up America in Tampa, Clay Clark's event, and there was a doctor there from Oklahoma and Tulsa, and he's like, I have treated 9,000 patients that have, you know, this is a doctor saying, I have treated 9,000 patients. I treated all 9,000 with hydroxy and ivermectin. I can never, what's the,
ivermectin.
One of those. Thank you. Not one has passed away. All 9,000 cured, healed within 1 day. I'm getting phone calls. All 9,000 complete. And the thing is, if we go out and make a post about this, you will get banned. You will get suppressed. And it's crazy to say, like in YouTube's terms and agreements now, it says, and if you mention the use of hydroxy and a couple other ones, your video will be taken down. Like they are fully in bed with Big Pharma. Big Pharma is obviously paying these companies to say, hey, do not let them talk about this on air, which we saw the journalist from Texas on Fox that leaked it on Project Veritas. Like that's exactly what happened. She says the advertisers that are Big Pharma tell us not to talk about these other remedies because they will affect them financially. Bobby, you have anything?
Yeah. So I have like so for anybody that doesn't know, I've been a web developer for 15 years. I own 8 websites that do millions of impressions a month. So I have a very, very deep and extensive understanding of how online advertising works and how AI and machine learning reads different words that you say on podcasts, words that you use in your captions, comments that you make, and the like. I think what's important for everybody to remember is that these are big waves of things that are happening, not individual people just picking things off. When you get demonetized and all these things, the reason that that's happening is because large swaths of advertisers don't want to be associated with anything to do with that, so they remove their advertising dollars from any content that may have anything to do with it. As a result of it, those accounts get demonetized simply because they don't want to have their ad showing if somebody is questioning the general narrative. They may not even believe in what they're saying. They just don't want to they don't want to get anywhere near anything that could be potentially dicey. So it's like, it's not as much as an individual pulling the strings. It's just a bunch of people saying like, whatever the mob believes, I just want to stay on the side of whatever the mob is, which is why the most important thing that any of us can do is try to play the game, play around what we know that they're doing, and be tactical and strategic in how we communicate this message, and also try to convince more people to think differently and do research, as opposed to like fighting the power and being like, look, they're demonetizing each of us individually. What's actually happening is those advertisers are just doing whatever the general mob will believe. If people are anti, look, I don't want to buy any ads, I just want to sell my local business, I don't want to buy any ads on anything that touches anything even close to COVID. That's why those things are happening. So it's not that we need to change the message, we just have to be more tactical and strategic to how we play the game. I think that's something that's really important to remember. It's not always this like top-down puppeteer. And yes, at the very, very tops of it all, yes, money is persuading how these things happen, but each individual small company, like a company that does $1 million a year or even $150,000 a year, when they go and buy ads on Facebook, they can just say, I don't want anything that even goes anywhere near COVID. If that person decides individually, all right, I'm okay with it, or oh, maybe that's not a bad thing, and they choose to show those ads, then more and more of these people will get remonetized again. I think that's just something important to remember. It's not just like this big power, like fuck all these people. So just something to keep in mind.
Yep. Alex, you have anything? Are you good?
No, I think I'm pretty much it for that.
Well, the good news is we've had some positive things happen in social media. Number one, and I would love to hear your guys' stance on, because I've gotten a lot of messages, the good and the bad, for the app Getter. A new social media. It looks identically to Twitter in every single way. I mean, from the retweeting to the reposting to, I mean, you do get more characters, which is nice. But I will say, it was pretty awesome that I could put out a tweet or get, whatever you want to call it, and I could say what I said, which I can't say right now because I'd probably get banned on Instagram for saying it. But and that, at the end of it, I'm like, I can't tell you how good this feels, knowing that I won't get banned for saying this. And so are you guys on Getter? What's your guys' opinion? Because people are like, it's owned by China, it's on Amazon servers. You know, there's that whole spin. What's your guys' thoughts on Getter?
I made a Getter, but I have no idea what it is or how to use it or whatever. I think I've got like 2 followers because I haven't really promoted it.
You haven't pushed it yet.
I wasn't sure if it was like a real thing. I feel like you have to be careful with these apps, you know, as they're coming out and stuff too. But I'm hoping that it ends up being a good thing because it's you know, it's obviously not something new that we kind of have to, you know, Jorge said, like, tiptoe around what we're saying and everything because of censorship and stuff. But, you know, I think it's finally time that we kind of start to take social media into our own hands a little bit, and start developing these platforms where we are able to kind of speak our mind and not be afraid of ridicule or our platforms that we work so hard to build, you know, be taken from us in a second because of something that big tech doesn't like. So I have a Getter. I think it's at Real Alex Lanes. Living life like Alex was too many characters apparently, so I have Real Alex Lanes. But yeah, I'm hoping. It's weird because obviously I like Twitter as far as I've worked hard to kind of build the platform that I have on all my social media accounts. I don't think I'll ever fully stop Twitter unless they take me off or unless the censorship really becomes too much, but it hasn't been too much on my Twitter yet, but I'm gonna knock on some wood. But I'm hoping that Getter becomes, you know, something good and productive that conservatives can kind of, or not even just conservatives, but people that just, you know, maybe even liberals too. I mean, people that just want to speak their minds and not be ridiculed for it.
Right.
I'm hoping that it ends up being a good thing.
I completely agree. Bobby, Jorge, you guys got anything?
Yeah. So what I would say about Getter, and I made one. It's at Take Naps. I think that this is the most important thing to remember. Because again, I have like, and not that I'm the smartest guy in the world, but like I pretty much know only one thing, and that's the internet. It's like the only thing that I really know. I can't hang a picture on the wall, but I can tell you a lot about the internet. All I have to say about that is just be mindful that the internet is an interconnected, permanent web that spans the entire globe. The things that you place anywhere and everywhere will remain in those locations and be weighted and measured in perpetuity for the remainder of your life. So if you're going to post things on Getter or Parler or whatever it may be, just understand that there is no safe space to still having to be strategic about how you approach communicating whatever message it is that you have. This is a game that we're playing. Whether life is a simulation in a game, that's still up in the air. Everyone can determine that on their own. But as far as the internet is concerned, this is very much a video game. So whatever you're going to post there, just be mindful that eventually, as the tide starts to turn and more things get clamped down as time goes on, these platforms have to make money. They have to make money in order to maintain the cost of sustaining these networks. They can cost $7,000 to $10,000 a day to maintain even a small social network. The money has to come from somewhere, and the biggest companies in the world are ultimately the ones that finance the vast majority of these social platforms. There will come a day when Getter and really most other apps, unless we can get really major companies to kind of see the way that we do, that it's going to slowly start to reel back. And whatever you placed in there on day 1 or day 200 or day 395 is going to still be weighted into how successful you can be there. So just be aware that it may be this free zone, but you always have to have your guard up to what you say and how you say it, because it will remain in your weighted ecosystem as long as you communicate on the internet. So just be aware, like you got to have your armor protecting you. Don't just drive right into the middle of the town square, guns blazing. Be strategic. Look at every corner and protect yourself. And even though it's new and free and whatever, the tide can change. Just be as strategic as you are on Instagram or anything else. That's my only recommendation.
That is great advice. I love
Yeah,
it.
I probably have like the different perspective on Getter. So for me, I didn't download Parler when it came out. I'm probably not going to get Getter because it seems like, I mean, it's great at first, but it just seems like you're like, it just depends, right? Like if you just care about preaching to the choir and people that disagree with you, then you get on these apps. For me, it's like Twitter, Instagram. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of censorship, but at the end of the day, it's still like the town square.
Right.
For me, it's not those apps. Even, you know, like Parler, you had Amazon just remove it from its services when it got a little bit too much. Even with the new app Gab, you have Republicans like Governor Greg Abbott ban it in the state of Texas because of it's anti-Semitic or whatever, when it's truly free speech. So for me, it sounds great right now. I don't see it making it past a year. Like I said, I'm not getting it. I think if to make these real changes, we have to go at like the Twitter. We have to go at a Facebook, because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it's still the town square. I mean, if you want to get Getter, but you're not changing anyone's mind. You're not really. I mean, look, that's just my perspective. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but from what I've seen, and exactly kind of like a little bit of what like Bobby said, it's like when it gets a little bit too much, you know, Republicans are going to come in and say, hey, this app promotes anti-Semitism. We need to ban it. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, the Republicans are walking in with the liberals and still banning free speech. So what's the point? So I still think Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that's where we have to make the change. Maybe I'm the negative Nancy, but that's the way I'm looking at this one.
No, I agree actually, because now like here, especially, that's why I haven't like completely dove into it. Like I made an account, you know, because everyone was making accounts. So I was like, you know what, let me just make one. But I haven't even posted anything, or I posted one thing on it. But I think what I also like about Twitter and Instagram and all these other platforms, even though we're constantly battling censorship, we are surrounded by a massive amounts of other people that think the complete opposite of us. And that's good, because you don't want to be stuck in your own echo chamber. You want to be around people that have complete opposite opinions of you, even if you don't change their mind, or your goal is to not change their mind. But it's good to be around other people that have these different outlooks on life and these different outlooks on politics and the president and things that are going on in the world, because you don't want to just be around people that think like you 24/7, because eventually you're never going to be, you're always going to be set in your ways, and you're never going to look at things from a different perspective. And I think it's important that we always do that, even if we're not speaking with other people, you know, even if we're not speaking with other liberals, to change our minds. You know, I don't ever go into a conversation with someone that disagrees with me and I'm like, okay, this person's going to change my mind, or I'm going to change this person's mind. But either way, it's always good to bring in that different perspective, because it kind of broadens your outlook and broadens your thought process, and it kind of makes you think more, and it makes you more knowledgeable on a bunch of different topics. So no, I think, like I said before, it might be good for, you know, for us to kind of take a little bit of control of these social media apps at the end of the day. designating these apps to one specific side will never end well. I don't think. So.
Yeah, and I'm on both sides. I'm with you guys, and we're going to transition to talk about the border here in a little bit. But I will say this, though. The thing I love about Getter is that the voices that have all been banned off Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, they're all on there, and I can listen to them now. Like Steve Bannon is on there. I love Steve Bannon. You know, I'm sure some people might not. I do. If it wasn't for Steve Bannon in War Room, I probably wouldn't be here today. And so now it's so cool. I get to see Bannon tweet. I get to see there's a lot of personalities that have been banned off of all the social medias. And so the way I'm looking at it is, one, I can follow those people. And two, yes, it is an echo chamber. Completely agree. And that's the one thing that's a negative. But on the positive, it is the one safe space for now, at least, where you can start bringing all of your followers over from Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, bring them over to the Rumbles and the Getters, so that if the day happens that we get banned, just like a lot of our friends, there is now a place that you can at least stay connected with those specific people. And so when it comes to the debate and conversation with the other side, it's not the place for that. It probably never will be, like Jorge is saying. Completely agree. But I do love that it's another option other than like a Telegram, because Telegram's just so spammy and I just lose everything. But Getter just feels like it could solve the problem of actually getting people over. And I will say this, I have like 500 followers on Getter right now. I have like 12,000 on Facebook, and I get more likes and shares from the 500 followers on Getter than the 15,000 or however many thousand on Facebook and other platforms. So the engagement's great. People are on it. And I think that, you know, just depending on the perspective you're looking at it, you know, it could be a pro or a con. Okay. For everyone that's just joining or have just hopped on the last 10 minutes, we've talked about the door-to-door of the government trying to come to find out about vaccines. We talked about the 13-year-old boy that passed away this past week after having his second dose. And we talked about the app Getter. These next two segments, we have about 25 minutes left. We're going to, real quick, Trump's lawsuit today. What's your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, you think this is going to do anything? I love it. You guys have any thoughts before we get to
I think it's a good thing. I've been, as you know, on anytime we talk Jordan and Alex, I've been super critical of big tech. So, you know, anything that goes after these guys, I'm all for it. Look at that book right here by Josh Hawley, The Tyranny of Big Tech. So yeah, anything that can at least put some type of pressure, whether, you know, anything at all, I'm all for it. And I think obviously if you're Trump, you have to do it. I mean, you're still not on social media. It's not acceptable. This guy is, you know, potentially going to run for president again. And we have Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey telling us what's best for us. So I think it's great. We'll see if something happens. I know Ron DeSantis from the Florida side has been attacking it as well. I'm for anything that could put pressure on these guys because, I mean, we have to.
I agree.
No, it's definitely a good thing. I think we all probably are in agreement on that. The only thing that kind of troubles me about it is it's like Donnie knew that this was a problem before he was even in office, and when he had the ears and eyes of the entire planet and the most power of any person on earth, why was this not addressed then with more urgency? And although it's like, you know, I don't want a Monday morning quarterback, but it's like I certainly wish that this was done a long time ago, especially considering that we've known that this has been a problem for quite some time. So it's just like, I just hope it's not too little too late. I certainly hope that it works. I'm for it, obviously. But I think it's kind of frustrating that didn't happen a long time ago.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing about the voting machines. It's like Donnie was talking about those voting machines 10 years ago. So it's like, I just don't understand. I just hope it's not another head fake. And I think that what I've come to learn about not only just Donnie, but just like the system as a whole is like, I got to figure out how to thrive in whatever lane that I have and do the best that I can and whatever I can control and just hope that these things all start to work out. But I try not to get too emotionally invested into whether or not they will. It's like, okay, like what's my objective? My objective is communicate as best I can, control what I can control. I certainly hope that works, but it's like, why now? Why not before? What about those voting machines? How come that wasn't addressed? So it's like after the 6th, I'm kind of like, I don't know what to trust anymore. I try not to get too emotionally invested in any of these things because it's like there's been a lot of promises made and not so many kept.
Hey, I completely agree. And I think that is a perfect transition to talk about the next topic because I think Bobby just said it all, and I completely agree. Okay, so let's talk. We got 15 minutes left, and one of the main reasons why we're going to focus on the border for these last 15 minutes because Jorge Ventura and Alex have both been. Bobby, have you been to the border? I haven't.
No.
No, yeah, I have not either. But I wanted to have Jorge and Alex both on this, you know, because they both have been in the border. And I had Jorge on the podcast last week. If you guys not have heard this podcast, I'm telling you, it is so eye-opening. Jorge really exposes a lot of what's going on at the border. He's been working at the border all year. He was there last week when President Trump was there. He interviewed Madison Cawthorn. He interviewed Lauren from Colorado. So many different congressmen, senators. Jorge's the guy that's like going and he's getting in the trenches. He is, and so Jorge, I want you to talk about a little bit about just some of the big bullet points of or eye-opening things that you learned in these last 2 or 3 weeks that you were at the border. I know you mentioned that fentanyl has gone insanely high. People are being shot on their own property. The amount of money that's being made by these cartels every single day. What are the big takeaways that you have learned by being at the border over these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so big takeaway. It's a lot worse in person. I think, Jordan, I think I told you about this, is like usually in news, things are actually overhyped. Even you get there in person, it's like not that bad. It's actually the complete opposite. It's actually really bad in person. It's a lot worse. I would actually call it a humanitarian crisis that we're having here on the southern border. If this was any other country in the world, we would be calling it a humanitarian crisis. It's still record high numbers. I believe May they finished over 180,000 apprehensions for the third straight month. I think we're currently on pace to have over 1 million illegal immigrants come into the country. And some of the big takeaways, if you're not at the border, that kind of shook me, is that these cartels and these human smuggling groups, they have specific locations on the border where they'll push all these family units, they'll push little kids, all in these mass doves. And what happens is Border Patrol then has to basically apprehend all these family units and kids and deal with this whole process of like processing them and then taking them to migrant facilities. So what this does is this opens up the border even more than it already is. The Texas-Mexico border, it's one of the most open borders ever. It has over 1,000 miles with no fence or any type of wall blocking it. And this opens up basically even more border for the cartels to continue smuggling drugs at a record number, smuggling humans as well. I believe since the beginning of the year till now, we've seen a 600% increase in the fentanyl that's coming in. I used to think that the stash houses, which the cartels and human smuggling groups, they like stash migrants on the Mexican side, and then what they'll do is they'll pick certain times to then smuggle humans. I thought those only happen on the Mexican side. Now that I've been reporting in South Texas, there's stashes all across the Texas southern border. There is active cartel in a lot of these Texas border towns, and it's insane. And then I want to mention this one thing really quick, Jordan, is also for folks who don't know, it's migrants are basically essentially be treated like Amazon products. When we're interviewing migrants or we're by the border, you look on the floor, you can look at their wrists. They're all labeled by these wristbands, different color wristbands for different cartels and human smuggling groups. So it's a real crisis, and they treat humans like Amazon products. I ran into kids that have been all by themselves. I ran into kids where we interview them and we'll be like, "Where's your parents?" They'll be all the way back in El Salvador or Honduras. We interviewed single mothers where their husbands or boyfriends have been kidnapped on the way to the border, or the cartels kill these people, sex traffic these people. So it's actually that bad. Even actually, Jordan, I gotta hop off now because I'm actually going to a city council meeting right now because there's a town I don't want to name the town yet, but there's a town in California that actually has now heavy cartel presence due to the border crisis that's happening. So now there's a town here that's essentially getting almost taken over by cartels. So I'm actually headed there right now. We're covering that city council meeting, so we'll be working on that story. But I just kind of wanted to give you kind of an overspill. And for anyone who at least wants more information or wants to see it, definitely click on the page. We have tons of videos. Jordan can tell you.
And real quick, how much, before you head off, how much are the cartels making per day?
As of right now, the average is 14 million per day.
14. All right. We'll talk. That's what we'll talk about in the next 10 minutes. Jorge, thank you, bro.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, Jordan.
All right. So think about this, guys. You have of course the cartels are doing this, and they're going to keep doing it until our government starts really putting up the wall, finishing the wall, putting the Remain in Mexico policy back in place. They're making $14 million a day. You got 180,000 illegal immigrants that they've apprehended. That's not including the ones that they did not. This is, like Corey said, it's like Amazon. This is a humanitarian crisis. Alex, is this what you saw when you went to the border?
Yeah, it's worse in person for sure. And even like when you talk to Border Patrol and you talk to state troopers that are up, riding up and down the river, votes, and you talk to the people that are down there and that are having to see this every day. I mean, hearing the stories, one of the first times that I was on here live and I talked about that one story of the little girl that was found in the river because the cartel dropped her. I mean, these stories are sad and the media isn't covering them because, it just, especially leftist media isn't covering them because it doesn't fit their narrative. They want to cover kids in cages instead of the actual issues that are going on. This really shouldn't be a Democrat or Republican issue. This should just be the fact that we need to come together and we need to help what's going down at the border. We need to stop the funneling of this money going into the cartel's pockets as they smuggle children and sex traffic them across our border, and they smuggle drugs and weapons in and cause harm and damage to the American people. And it's absolutely insane. I mean, I don't even know if you heard this, but I know the Democrats were planning with this budget plan to spend $870 million for border security in the Middle East. And in that same budget plan, they've stripped all funding for the border wall here in our own country. So you could just, according to the American left, the security in the Middle East is more important than the security here in the United States, sunk to the tune of $870 million. It's really insane, honestly. And it's just like, and I had someone comment on one of my videos today, actually my defund the police one, where I was saying that it's the left that's been wanting to defund the police. And they're like, oh, you must believe that the left wants open borders too. And I was like, they do.
They do.
Money in closing the borders for them. They want it wide open because it's bringing in money for them as well. It's come on. It's not just bringing in money for the cartel. It's bringing in money for the rhinos and the Democrat politicians, the slimy swamp in DC, and they're thriving off of it. And I said this in your live last week, Jordan, that especially Kamala and Biden and the whole Biden administration, if they're not stopping this, if they're not paying attention to the crisis and they're not acknowledging the fact that there is an actual crisis going on down at the border, they are playing into the largest or one of the largest human trafficking operations. They are complicit in one of the largest human trafficking operations. And it's disgusting at this point. This really shouldn't be about politics. This really shouldn't be about Democrats or Republicans or pointing fingers at whose fault it is. And though I'm kind of pointing fingers right now, it's because they're in charge of this and they're not doing anything to stop it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I completely agree. The Remain in Mexico policy, eliminating that changed the game. It completely changed the game because it encouraged people. They know that the moment that they get here, if they get to stay on the United States side, they're not showing up to the court case. They're just not. Like the majority of them do not show up. Where if they got to remain in Mexico, they ain't doing that journey to wait for a year in Mexico. Like there's no way they're doing it. That's why they have a crisis to say. And then the fact that the left is now saying that the right is the ones. It's the border crisis is because of Trump's policies, or the defund the police has become because of the right. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. Bobby, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, these are unsurprising revelations that all seems to feed back to the same thing, which is just like, how do you exercise complete and unending power? It's just like you just ruin every single thing that you could possibly ruin, because ultimately the government does not understand how incentives work. Every single thing that they had tried to incentivize to happen has the opposite effect of their incentive. And they think that they can throw money at it and fix it. And it ultimately just creates the incentive for somebody to do it illegally or do it the other way. I mean, it's the thing that I find the most sad about it all is that they have successfully convinced half of the population and probably a good chunk of the world that the only thing that matters is emotional cues as opposed to things that are actually occurring in real life. Good. It's like it's racism, it's sexism, it's transphobia, it's anti-vax, it's whatever else. And it's like none of these things are the actual true happenings of what's going on. It's all emotionally driven bullshit and distraction. And the sad part about it all is that they are successfully manipulating like the vast majority of the people on the planet. Not even just in America. Like when you think about the type of shit that they're pulling in Canada, it's like you're talking tens of millions of people that are going through way worse stuff than us, and like they've convinced that country, and it's like the U.S. is like really like that last kind of bastion of hope. And the fact that they've been able to convince otherwise highly intelligent people that the only thing that matters is this systemic racism that's barely even actually occurring when all these other horrible human tragedies are going on is like it's the biggest distraction move of all time. And it's absolutely tragic that people get pulled into the emotional cues and distracted from the true nature of what's going on. They focus on the 10% that doesn't matter while the 90% is destroying everything. It's tragic.
I would say it's the 1% that doesn't matter, not even the 10.
Right.
That's
sure.
actually being generous. I mean, this is where we're at, where like, I'm going to push back on what you said a little bit. Like you said, like the government doesn't really know how to, like, I think they're doing this shit on purpose.
Sure.
They know what they're doing. Like they know that the policies that they're enforcing is going to cause this crisis, which is going to bring more votes over. They are going to use it to blame it. And they have the media in their hands, where now they can take the failures of their policies and they're using it against us. Like, I mean, we see this in New York. They're like, Governor Cuomo's like, the crime is insane and we need to lock down on guns because of the gun violence. The reason why that crisis is happening is because you defunded the police, or you don't let people have guns to defend themselves in your entire damn city. So they're using the reward of the failures of their own policy to use it against law-abiding citizens, and they're being strategic about it. Like, San Francisco right now people are moving out like crazy. Targets literally closed down all of their when you got Target like saying, hey, there's too much theft, we're not even making any profit anymore, we're just going to close down all the Targets in San Francisco. But pro LGBTQ, pro this, pro that, pro everything left. But San Francisco's a dump now, and we're just going to move out of San Francisco. They know what they're doing, and they're using the failures of their own policies to punish the law-abiding citizens. Alex, do you have any thoughts before we get to our finals?
You guys, you pretty much said it all. I push back a lot on Kamala. I give her a lot of crap because, the border crisis and immigration, that's personal to me with my dad being an immigrant. So I push back on it a lot because she does know what she's doing, which is why she didn't go to Rio Grande Valley. It's why she didn't go to, even McAllen, Texas. I know that's more like families and so forth. But, which is why she didn't go to any of these other areas that are more populated with the influx of illegals that are coming through, with the drugs and weapons that are coming through. Which is why she didn't go to any of the actual hot spots of the crisis. She went to El Paso and she stood on the tarmac as if she was actually doing something productive when she wasn't, because she knows what she's doing. She wants all of this on right now. She wants it to happen. I've said this before. Closing the borders does not make any money for them. I know this sounds horrible, and it is horrible. I mean, this is actually insane. How can you sit there, reverse everything that Trump was doing? You didn't inherit a broken immigration system. You inherited a working immigration system. Not perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. And I don't want people get all up in my grill like, oh, it wasn't a perfect immigration system. Like, I know that, okay? It wasn't perfect. No one's saying that his immigration system was perfect. We have a lot of shit we have to work on. Right. But what he was implementing, the policies that he was putting forth when he was in office, we're doing a lot better job than what Obama did, and they're doing way better than what Biden's doing because he just reversed everything. Yeah. And how you could sit there, reverse everything that Trump did just because you hate him or because he has mean tweets, reverse everything that he did that was actually helping illegal immigration. It was helping control illegal immigration. Talk to the Border Patrol agents that are down there working. They'll say they agreed with his policies because it was helping their job. It was helping make sure that their lives weren't in danger 24/7, because they are. And how you could sit there and reverse all of those policies and then get on national TV and blame the Republicans and blame the last administration for the crisis that we're seeing right now is complete and utter trash. You are completely out of touch with reality, completely ignorant to everything that's going on around you, but at the same time, they're completely in tune with what they're doing. Yeah. This is exactly what they want to do. They want people to come in, just like you said, Jordan, they want people to come in so they have more Democrat voters in the future to eventually push that socialist agenda, the same socialist agenda that people are literally fleeing from. Hello? Come on, that's really, so good. Now I'm going to get pissed off because we're really getting into it, but it's just like, come on. Like, open your eyes, people. Open your eyes. You voted for this. You cannot sit there and cry about kids in cages and then sit there and turn your back on the administration you voted in for that is literally complicit in human trafficking. Come on. I have no sympathy for any of you. I have no sympathy for these voters that voted for this. You voted for this. And I sat there back in November. I sat there back in January, and I was like, you voted for this. You cannot complain now. You cannot complain. We'll take control. We'll fight for them. We'll fight for what's going down at the border. We'll fight for the shit that you have been putting into this country and making it worse. We'll fight for it. You've done enough. You've done enough damage. Sit down. Maybe don't vote in the next election because, like, it's just absolutely insane. It's completely and utter insane what we're seeing right now. And we have independent journalists. We have former presidents. We have politicians. We have regular citizens going down to the border and putting forth more energy and attention to what's going on down there than the actual people that have been elected to work on this crisis. It's completely embarrassing what's going on, and other countries are laughing at us.
Yeah. Bobby?
Yep. I mean, that's spot on 100%. It's, I think that the reason that this is all going down is because I would say that the vast majority of people just purely and simply don't want to spend the time necessary in order to have the depth of understanding as to what is really happening. Everybody kind of wants it to just resolve itself. And they understand that by appealing to the lowest common denominator of people that are paying attention, that they can get the vast majority of people. It's kind of like if you make a very, really well thought out, thoughtful, intelligent live stream, and you can get 200 people on it at one time, there's a person that can just literally shake their ass in the camera and get 5,000 concurrent viewers every single day and make $150,000 a year doing it. Is because like people don't want to invest the time necessary in order to understand it with any depth. So they look into it for 5 minutes a day, they speak out loudly about it, and then they pay attention to the rest of their life. I can't blame them for it, but they have to understand that like we can only warn people so many times because we need more people to be, it has to be cool to pay attention to this shit. The three of us, I'll speak for you and you can tell me if I'm wrong. You don't want to be thinking about this shit. You want to be playing fucking Call of Duty and making a Hot Pocket and fucking off, you know? It's like, but you understand that if you have the capacity to understand and you have the willingness to do what you probably believe is your duty, a place that you could cause a great ripple in the world and leave it a better place. That's why you're here. That's why all these people are here watching this. The sad part is we have to figure out a way collectively, and I don't know what it is, but we have to figure out a way to make intelligence, depth of understanding, independent research, and personal responsibility something that people talk about on a regular basis. They're appealing to the lowest common denominator of people, and they're manipulating them. And it's tragic because they think that they're in the right, but they don't even understand with any depth how much they're being abused.
It's so true. I would love to not even be on here talking about this crap. Like, period. I miss sports being normal. I miss basketball, and I don't have to see Black Lives Matter on the damn jerseys or the damn court. I miss watching I love the women Olympic soccer team. Like, for real. Like, I love watching the girls more than the guys. Like, they're all badass.
That
and now
makes one of you.
Well, that was.
I like watching the men's soccer team better, but I grew up. My dad got me into soccer, so
if the men were good, I probably would want to watch them more too. They just they didn't even make the World Cup 4 years ago. It's just absolutely embarrassing. But they are better now. But it's like, I'm sorry, I cannot watch and support the USA women when half of them are just going to kneel or turn their back on the flag, especially when you have a 90-year-old vet playing the harmonica while, like, who gave and risked his life, and they turn their back on him. I just can't do it. And I love what you said, Bobby, on that, in those last thoughts. It's just, I miss those days. I miss those days where I didn't wake up thinking about politics. I thought about, making a Pop-Tart in the morning, or you said Hot Pocket, I went Pop-Tart. But it is so true. And I think let's do this. We have about 3 minutes left. I'm going to give you guys one question each because we got like 6 questions here. And then we will wrap this thing up. So Alex, it says, do you believe Trump losing the presidency helped all of us realize we cannot be complacent individually as patriots?
I mean, definitely. I feel like, and people might hate me for this, but I feel like there's a lot of people that like worship Trump and they idolize him so much. They put him on such a high pedestal. He is not a perfect man, and his presidency was not perfect. I'm still a supporter, you know, and I'm proud that I voted for him twice, but we can't be complacent in this thought process of like, oh, Trump's going to save us and Trump is the best person, you know, to run and all this stuff. Like, we really do need to kind of broaden our horizons a little bit and be like, let's look at some other candidates that are going to take us even further. I think what Trump did was amazing. Would I have loved for him to have, you know, an extra 4 more years? Of course. But, you know, I feel like his time is over now, and we need to start looking into other candidates. DeSantis would probably be a great one. He's very similar to Trump, but he's more calm. He's better at communicating. We really need to kind of put our energy and our love into other candidates and kind of lift them up. And, you know, because of it, you know, Trump's also older too. So it's like we need to look at a little bit younger people that are really going to carry this movement forward. I understand people want this to be the Trump party, but it should be more than just the Trump party, because this is a future country that we have to look towards. So,
all right. So with that being said, and I'm going to ask Bobby the same question, but you kind of was a perfect transition. Would you rather have, if you had to vote Trump or DeSantis, who would you vote?
DeSantis.
You're DeSantis.
Yeah.
Both of you guys are DeSantis.
I really.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is the thing, is like, the game is the game, and what works one time doesn't necessarily work twice. And though it worked the first time around, it's like you have to play the game. You have to play the game to win. Floyd Mayweather may not be the best boxer to ever live, but he knows how to win. And when you watch this guy, he may not land the most blows. He may not outmatch everybody. And if you looked at them on the street, he probably would lose, but he knows how to win the match. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. That dude knows how to win. That's why he's the best boxer of all time. Unfortunately, Donnie put his foot in his mouth on a lot of different occasions, and he didn't strategically win the game. And I think that, just like Alex said, it's like we can't be all in on this. We have to understand that you have to be a little bit more strategic to win. And I think that there would be a higher probability that somebody like DeSantis would win. And at the end of the day, what matters is the win, not who, not what. It's like we have to understand that the win is the only thing that matters.
Well, do you believe the election was stolen?
Yeah.
So then Trump did win. It got stolen.
Yes.
From him.
I do. However, it's like there was a lot of things that I think that he could have done to prevent that from happening a long time ago. I mean, he talked about, there's tweets of him talking about those voting machines 4 years before he got elected. And it's like, dog, you got to win the game, my guy. And like I said, I love him, but it's like.
So you're saying that he didn't do enough on the policy front while he was in office to protect us or himself from the election being stolen, the border crisis, or any other issues when it comes to election integrity.
Yeah, yes, and I also will say this: like, the man's not perfect. You can only be so good at so many things. Corona clap falls out of the sky. I get it. Distraction. He's not perfect. I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback, but I am saying this: he knew about Section 230 ahead of time. He knew they were going to do something. He talked about it for months. When he gave all of his speeches, he kept repeating the same things. The guy's been to court more than any person in the history of time, yet loses all these court cases. Like, Rudy Giuliani is the best lawyer in America to defend you. I don't know. Like, Rudy did some sloppy things. I don't know. It's like he lost the game, and it's just like, and I think that what really kind of humanized Donnie to me was the 6th. It's like, this dude knew that walking us into the Capitol was a fucking trap, and he led all the supporters in the trap. And now there's 565 people that are in fucking prison in solitary confinement. His supporters, patriot Americans, whatever, that are fucking rotting away in prison. That he could have fucking pardoned. He could have pardoned Julian Assange. He could have pardoned Ian Smith. He could have pardoned all these people that I'm just saying, like, it's like the guy fucked up on a lot of things, and we can't just be like, Donnie forever. It's like, he did a great thing. Now let's find a person that's going to be a little bit more strategic and tactical so we can win. It's like, that's the only thing that matters. I love Donnie. Represent. I shake his hand. I thank him for his service. I think the guy's heroic. I think he's heroic, but I want to win.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I will say this, because I'm happy with either. If I'm going to pick, I'm going to go Trump, just because the dude got 10 million more votes or 16 million more votes than he did in 2016, and historically, that is a unreal statistic. So like on my front, dude, the guy got literally like 15% more votes than he did in 2016. He got people there. We didn't lose one congressional, race. I mean, we kicked ass. So I'm still on the Trump team, but I'm obviously part of that's also because I don't want to lose DeSantis as a governor. Because
neither do I.
Could you imagine if DeSantis did not win by that 1% against Andrew Gillum? Could
100%.
you imagine being during COVID? We would have been in California. We would just have opened up. Like,
Yep.
It would have been absolute hell. So, but hey,
Just don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of change. We don't know who's the next Ron DeSantis. That's the only thing that I would say. It's like, we can't hold on to the shore and expect to discover a new territory. It's like, you got to let go, and we got to understand that, like, if this dude made Florida objectively the best state in the nation, it's like, because the reason that people like Donnie is because the message is popular, and no one ever saw the message communicated in such a way. If somebody could communicate that message in such a way, yet be more strategic, we win. He would have won far and away had he not stuck his foot in his mouth so many times. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, he wouldn't have gotten banned on Facebook if he didn't do that shit on the 6th. And you could say, yeah, they would have figured out a way to. Maybe, but it's like, that was a strategically poor move that ended up with a lot of people suffering. And I think
but then, like, I'm with you. But then again, like, he gave the warning to Nancy and Mitch. She said, hey, we need 3,000 National Guard. And they're like, no, we don't want it. He sent them the warnings. And again, I'm with you. Like, I was there on the 6th. It felt like a trap. But I knew it was a trap. That's why I started recording. If it wasn't for the 6th, I wouldn't be having these conversations right now, because it was the one video from the 6th that actually had a video go viral to bring me to here. So, like, I'm with you. I'm all in, but, like, I do feel like it wasn't necessary. Yeah, I don't know.
If you land 300 jabs and then you get knocked out with one uppercut, you lost.
Yeah, that is fair.
It's like, I'm with you, bro.
But
you lost. He lost. He got gassed, and that was obvious that they were going to fuck him. He knew that they had control of DC. He should have been able to see that there was a lot of snakes in the grass. Like, again, I'm not trying to berate him. I'm just saying what other challenges are going to come down the pipe that may be equally as obvious that we're going to get trapped in. And it's like you don't have somebody that's as polarizing. Maybe those things aren't as easy to pull. That's all.
It's a great point. Trump or DeSantis, I'm freaking happy. I just hope that we get another DeSantis-like figure to come up as the governor. Alex, Bobby, you guys are awesome. I love you both, and thank you for doing this, and we will do it again.